Good morning, students. I am back again with you with my next topic. Myself Sudha Rani from Faculty of Nursing, Rama University, Kanpur. So, in the yesterday's class we have seen about the research, need of the research and as well as the types of the research. In the types of the research we saw mainly the research has been classified into two types, approach as well as on the purpose. In the approach we have seen qualitative research and quantitative research. In the quantitative research we saw experimental research and non-experimental research. In the experimental also we saw true experimental, quasi-experimental and pre-experimental research we saw. And even we saw what do you mean by the basic research as well as the applied research. A small point which was in the yesterday's class it was left was the classification of the qualitative research. In the quantitative, as we saw, there are experimental and non-experimental, experimental further classified and non-experimental was also further classified. But here the classification of the quantitative research, which are the types of the qualitative research. In the qualitative research they have been further classified into the case study, the action research, the ethnographic research, phenomenological research and grounded theory. The grounded theory again there are two types, one is the interview method, the observation method and the narrative type. So, this is also a part of a type of the research. This is the various research of the qualitative forms of the research. So, in our today's class we will begin with the qualitative research, that is what is the how we are doing experimental research and how we are doing the non-experimental research, what is the basic concept behind these two and how these both research differ in each. So, the experimental research and the non-experimental research. In the experimental research, as we have seen in the yesterday's class, we have classified them as true experimental, quasi-experimental and pre-experimental. So, in this experimental research, what we are basically doing, that we will see here. So, in the experimental research, we are giving some treatment or intervention is provided to the person or the study which we are doing. We will see with an example. I will explain here with the example. And in the non-experimental study, we are not giving any intervention or any treatment. So, let us take an example here. So, let us take an example of two groups. Let us take A and B. There are two groups, yeah, one or two, we are taken the two groups. In the experimental research, basically we take two groups. One we are taking as a control group or another one we are taking as a experimental group. Okay. Yeah, it might be one group pre-react test or post-test study. These all comes in our further classes we will see. But now let us consider there are two groups. Here let us take some 20 members you are taken here also. In the B group also you are taking 20 members. Now again for these 20 members you are providing certain intervention. Intervention in the sense, let us take an example that you have taken the to study the assess the anemia is there or not, whether are they taking good diet or not. Yeah, you can go with the elimination also. So, for these 20 this is your experimental group and for these people you are giving some intervention or some treatment you are giving. Some intervention or some treatment you are giving, and here you are giving normally whatever they are taking that is left to them. Okay, here nothing you are giving. Now what you will do when you will do your study, you are for these 20 members you people are giving high fiber diet or rich iron diet to increase their HB. Then what happens after giving for a certain period of time, take for example you are doing this study for 2 to 3 months, okay, but before doing this study you are assessing these people, 20 people you are assessing these people's HB or elimination pattern, whatever. So, we are doing the study that we are assessing. Now, let us take an example of the elimination only. Elimination. You have assessed this 20 people's elimination pattern, you have assessed this 20 people's elimination pattern also. After assessing what you have done, you have given the some treatment. What treatment you give for these people? You have given them a high diet, high fiber, rich fiber diet. You told these people to take this 20 people. So, what is that? That is your treatment or that is what your intervention. After taking the treatment, okay, after how many months? For a period of 1 month you have given the treatment for this 20 people, and here these people are following their normal routine, but here you are giving some rich fiber diet for these people. After giving the rich fiber diet, after 1 month again you are doing the analysis. After 1 month again you are going back to these 20 people and you are checking these 20 people, and then what you are doing, what was the before result and what is now the result is. So, now what you are doing, you are getting some data back now, whether after giving your treatment this pattern of the elimination is improved or what. in these 20 people, and here also you are assessing. Here nothing you have given, but what is happening with this? What is happening with this other 20 people? So that one you people are assessing here. So after checking, after giving the treatment for 1 month, when again we assessed, there might be something change in this 20 people. So what is that change? Okay, what the effect we have got? So that is the thing here. This is what we are giving certain treatment or intervention is provided, and here we are not giving any intervention, and these people are taking the normal diet only, and what is the change in these people? So this is what how we are giving that, we are giving certain treatment or intervention is provided in the experimental research, and in these people we are not giving any intervention or the treatment. And the second thing is confounding variables can be controlled in the experimental research. Now and here we cannot control the confounding variables. Now the word which is coming is the confounding. What is this confounding variables? What we need to say, what are these confounding variables? Again go back to this example. Here we are giving 1 month treatment, that is a rich high fiber diet we people are giving to these people. So this is the intervention which we are giving to these people, and here we are nothing we are given. But if these 20 people, okay, without the knowing for the researcher is not known for those thing, but if any of the participant among these 20 people is taking some other medicines, for example laxative, some medication he has taken, other than the treatment which the researcher has suggested, other than that something other thing he has taken, intake he has done. So what is happening? Automatically it is affecting the researcher, but what has been taken by this particular person is not known to the researcher. So that type of variables are known as confounding variables. So these can be controlled by the researcher. So the researcher can instruct these people that whatever the treatment he is giving to these 20 people, that can be taken, and here there is no any control over the confounding variables in this one. Next, here we can assess the treatment or intervention can be assessed. Okay, again go back to same example. Here we were there. So we can assess the what the treatment we have given, what the intervention we have given, we can assess that. How we can assess that? For now the treatment which we gave for these people was the high fiber diet. After giving the high fiber diet, the elimination pattern is improved. Okay, so whether because of the intervention only, because of the particular treatment only, these people's elimination pattern is improved or what? Okay, that is what we can assess in our experimental research. In this one we can't say it. Next, the cause and effect relationship can be assessed. In the yesterday's class, in the previous classes also I told you the dependent and the independent variable, there is one cause and there is one effect. So one can be changed and one cannot be changed. So here in this dependent and independent variable, when I was speaking, here we can assess what is the relation between the cause and the effect, whether the change is due to this our intervention only, whether the change has occurred or whether it is because of some other thing. Okay, so that we can assess in the experimental design, that is cause and effect relationship can be assessed. And here what is there? There is no any establishment of relationship. In the non-experimental design we cannot assess how these both are related, whether the cause is due to the effect or because of the effect, what is the cause. So we cannot establish any relationship of the cause and effecting, but we can compare the variables. We can compare variables to variables. Yesterday we took an example of a knowledge and practice. So we can assess this, how these variables are interrelated, that is how these variables we can compare the relationship. We can compare this relationship in this non-experimental research, and even we can find we can compare knowledge and practice also we can compare, and we can even compare the we can find the relationship between the knowledge and practice. If the knowledge is increasing, the practice is also automatically increased, and how it differs, how they are, we can compare what is the knowledge, what is the practice. So we can compare in the non-experimental research, and this specially it is done in the explorative studies. So once again we will sum up with the whole thing. So we have seen about the experimental and non-experimental studies, what are the main things or what are the main differences in that one. So now we will see the steps involved in the any quantitative study, either it might be experimental or non-experimental. These are the mainly steps which are involved in both the studies. Okay. These studies have been classified into main 5 phases, and in these 5 phases again there is a some certain steps are involved in each phase. So, let us begin with our first phase. The first phase is is also known as the conceptual phase. In the conceptual phase, what is the first point? First point is formulating and delimiting the problem. So, in the previous classes what we have seen, the research is nothing but a scientific or a systematic inquiry. So, research is a very broader topic. So, from the broader topic what we are doing, we are narrowing our topic. How we are narrowing it? We are delimiting it. For take an example of one disease condition, any disease condition you may take an example of the tuberculosis or leprosy. You can take an best example of the menstrual hygiene also. So, that the one big topic, this tuberculosis, leprosy or menstrual hygiene is a main big topic. In that one, again what you are going to assess, whether you are going to know knowledge, whether you are going to know attitude, whether are you going to know about the practices, whether what thing you are going to do. That is what is we have to delimit it and we have to formulate the problem. Formulate the problem in the sense, in yesterday's class also we seen that a study to assess, a video assisted teaching, a health education, a planned teaching program, like that way we are formulating the studies. So, we are formulating the studies, and in that formulation also we are delimiting it, what exactly we are going to do. From the broader topic we are going to the narrowing, that is known as formulating and delimiting the problem. Next, coming to the review of the literature review. In the review of the literature review of the, what is review of literature review? Review of literature review is that there are certain researches done by the other researchers on the similar topics also, but it might be on the same samples also, it might be on the different samples also, but what we basically we see similar to that our topic, what is the other studies done previously by some other researcher, and what are the analysis they have done, which type of sample they have taken, which type of design they have applied, what they have got the findings, what are the results, what are the conclusion given. So, these all comes in the review of the literature, and that review of the literature we need to collect and we have to arrange for our study. And next comes the undertaking the clinical field work. So, undertaking the clinical field work in the sense what we are doing. Now, we are taking some different topic you are telling. I told you example about the tuberculosis or leprosy or the menstrual hygiene. So, where we are going to do? Whether are we going to do in the hospital setting? Are we going to do in the rural areas? Are we going to do it in the urban areas? Are we directly going to the home visit and doing it? What type of thing we are doing? So, that one we have to clarify, and we have to further we have to go. Take an example of the menstrual hygiene in the among whom you are going to assess, among the adolescents, what you are going to, where you are going to assess, whether are you going to assess in the rural areas, where again you are going to assess in the schools. So, like that way we have to go. That is, we are narrowing the topic and we are going for the field work. For field work, where you are going, when you have told that you are going to assess the knowledge, attitude and practice, or knowledge practices regarding the menstrual hygiene, among whom? Among the adolescent girls. Among adolescent girls means which again age category, which age category you are going to take, either you are going to take 12 years to 15 years or 12 years to 18 years, what type of age group you are doing, that we have already delimited in the problem. And in the clinical field what we are going to the adolescent girls, and then we are doing what? We are assessing that particular thing. Next, defining the conceptual framework or a conceptual definition. What is conceptual framework? A conceptual framework means it is nothing but it is a cover for our study, that how we are going to do, what we are going to do, which is our, in the yesterday's class I defined you about the population, target population, accessible population, sample and all. So, this is what all, how we are going to do, how our study is going on. That is the conceptual framework, that is a cover. Next, the definitions, conceptual definitions. What is conceptual definitions? In our study we have done it, a study to assess the knowledge, attitude or practices regarding the menstrual hygiene among the adolescent girls. That was an statement problem. In that statement, so we are defining the variables. What do you mean by knowledge, what do you mean by practice, what is mean by attitude, what is menstruation, who are adolescents. So, that we are defining. So, that is known as the conceptual definition. And the next fifth step is the formulating the hypothesis. So, hypothesis, as I told you, what is hypothesis? Hypothesis is it is a prediction whether in between the two variables, two or more variables, we are predicting it. So here we are formulating the variables, whether are they positive or negative, what we are assuming, what we are going to predict. We may predict that the knowledge is also good, the practice is also good, yeah, the knowledge is very poor and practice is also poor. So what kind of hypothesis we can do here? So that we are formulating the hypothesis. In the further classes we will see how many types of hypotheses are there and how they can be formulated, and always the hypothesis formulation will be in the present tense. Next, the phase 2 is the designing and the planning phase. In the designing and the planning phase, again there are certain steps involved. The sixth step is the selecting the research design. Research design, what design? The research design we will see again in the further classes based on the experimental and non-experimental studies. There are different research design for each studies. So based on that one we are taking the research design. Now here in our study I was taking an example of a knowledge, attitude and practice. So knowledge, attitude and practice you have taken. Are you going to do pre-test or post-test? Are you going to do only one test, pre and post? Okay, what type of this are there? There are various different studies. In the further classes we can see that. So in this one we are selecting that particular research design. Then what we are doing? Developing the intervention protocols. What is developing the intervention protocols? Intervention protocols are those, means what the study we are doing that is not at all harming the any human being. We are basically doing on the human beings. So we are keeping the confidentiality, we are keeping our data, whatever the data they have given to us, that all will be saved with us and that will be all confidential and it will not harm. So these all are the protocols we have to develop. And next comes the identifying the population. So identifying the population, again in the yesterday's class we dealt what is population. Population is nothing but it is those are the having the same characteristics and they are having the same qualities, those are known as population. We are now here identifying the population. After identifying the population, what we are doing? Target population we are taking. Again, what is target population? Where the researcher is interested. Then again comes the accessible population, in which the researcher wants to do, which easily can be handled. That is the developing this is identifying the population. Next is designing the sampling frame. Designing the sampling frame is what? Again, which type of samples? Same. As I told you, what type of sample you are going to take, adolescents are there, from where you are going to take, how you are going to take. So these all comes under the sampling frame. Next, specifying the methods to measure the research variables. We have to specify which type of methods we are going to use for our research variables. Next, developing methods to safeguard the human rights. So, certain methods in again the same, that is the confidentiality and we are not exposing their data and all. This all comes again in the developing the safeguarding the human rights. And finally what we are doing? Reviewing and finalizing the research plan. We are finally whether these all things we have done, whether is it okay or not, whether we can go for the further study or not. We will once we will review it and we will finalize our research plan. That is step by step how we are going to do. Then after this completion, next comes the third phase, that is the empirical phase. In the empirical phase what we are doing? Once we have all done here with all the research plan, then next what we will do? We will go to the people, we will go to our samples, and then what we will do? Here we are collecting the data. How we will collect the data? It might be in the yesterday's class, again I told you that we might be taking structured questionnaire or semi-structured questionnaire in the experimental research and all, and even we are going which type we are, any standardized questionnaire we are taking, which type of we are going to do. With all those tools we can collect the data from the people samples. Then after collecting the data, then what we have to do? Once the data is collected, what we will do? We will prepare the analysis for the data. Take an example how it is analyzed. See, for example, socio-demographic variables are there. In the socio-demographic variables, when you are taking take income, okay, income of the sample you are taking. So you can take 2000, more than 2000 it is there, more than then it comes to 2001 to 5000, okay, then 5000 1 to 10,000. So like this way you have made the groups. If any sample takes this one, okay, then code it as 1. If any sample is taking this, code it as 2. Then even this one 3. So this type of 1, 2, 3, this type of coding which we are doing, that is known as preparing the data for the analysis. So this is how we analyze the code the data and we will send it for the analysis. Then comes the phase 4, that is the analytical phase. We are analyzing the data. How we are analyzing the data? As I told you, as I described you here, we are coding them, and after that coded data in the Excel sheet, we are bringing it to the SPSS or some softwares. Then we are analyzing the data. After bringing to the SPSS, we will get certain graphs and all, and we will get certain findings, and those findings will be interpreted. What that interpretation is done by the researcher, and he will interpret the findings what he got from his study. That is the next step, is the interpretation phase. Usually what happens, we all are completing after interpreting the findings. Here basically people will stop the study, but we have to further go to another step. After doing the study, when you are completing the findings, it is not that you have to keep the findings with you. Then what is the use of doing the research? So what the researcher has to do, he has go to the next phase. The next phase is known as the disseminating phase or fifth phase, where here what the research is doing, he is communicating the findings. Means whatever the findings he has received in his research, that particular findings he will communicate it. How he can communicate it? He can publish, he can make the thesis, okay, he can put in the journals. Okay, there are many methods of communicating the findings of the research, and this communicated findings can be further helpful for the other upcoming research also. Next, utilization of the findings in the practice. When we get these findings, I took an example of the menstrual hygiene. Okay, when we came to know in our findings that the adolescent girls are having poor knowledge and they are having the poor practices, then when we interpret those findings, when we came to know these are the deficiencies, then what we should do, we have to utilize those findings in our practice. That is, in the sense, we have to educate the adolescents, we have to improve the knowledge of the adolescents, and we have to bring them into their normal practices. Then only our research will be completely completed. Thank you.